Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting Darkstrider. Yes, here he is. Awesome new plastic model, lovely to see it, lovely to paint it. Well, that's what we're going to find out today. So, without further ado, we're going to jump in and start painting him. Now, he has been primed in Wraithbone, and the place we're going to start is on all of his armour. And the colour we're going to make is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Iyanden Yellow and Fyreslayer Flesh. And it's going to give us a really nice sort of ochre tone from which to start on all of that armour. And what we want to do is we just want to start layering this all over, just like this. Now, he does have his armour a bit all over the place, so you do just want to be very careful here, so as not to miss any bits. So you've got areas like the chest plate, like I'm doing here, like that. Got the bit of armour on his knee, around his wrist, just here. Like that. Just like this. The only bit we do want to avoid is on his shoulder, just here. That is in fact going to be white. So with that done, you should have some beautiful T'au armour, as well as the kind of ochre bits on the gun as well. The next colour we're going to make is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Cygor Brown and Black Templar. And we're going to be using this to paint in his soft undersuit. This is his trousers, his shirt, just like this. We want this to be really, really nice, dark, warm brown, bordering on black. And with that done, we're then going to take some Cygor Brown just on its own. I'm going to apply this over the top of his leather pouches. And so with that Cygor Brown applied to those leather details, the two pouches and the belt, what we're now going to do is we're going to work on all the black armour details. And the first colour we're going to be using for this is Leviadon Blue. This is going to act as our little pre-shade, so that when we come to put the black on it, we're going to get a nice clean, smooth black colour. I want to do this kind of on the bodies of the drones. Like that. We've got the remaining areas on the gun. His leg armor. The knife on his back. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is going to take some Black Templar. I'm going to do this over the top of our Leviadon Blue areas. So with that Black Templar applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to paint in the dark red of the drones, and the colour we're going to make is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Shyish Purple and Flesh Tearers Red. We just want to paint this all over the top of our dark red drones. So with that done, what we are now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Corax White, and we're going to apply this over the top of all of our white details. So this is going to include this little bit of armor just here, the white kind of aerials on his head, the ribbon on the bonding knife, and we're also going to apply this Corax White over the top of his skin. So with that done, what we're then going to do is take some Space Wolves Grey. I'm going to paint this over the top of all of his skin. So this is going to include his face and his feet. With that Space Wolves Grey applied, we're then going to take some Apothecary White. I'm going to apply this over the top of all of our white details. So, for example, those little aerials just there on his head. This shoulder guard. And so with that Apothecary White applied, we then take some Black Templar. I'm going to paint this over the top of his hair. So with that Black Templar applied, what we then do is take some Flesh Tearers Red. I'm going to apply this over the top of all of our little red hair ties. So it's basically these four going along the middle, and the other two are in fact a metallic. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Runelord Brass. I'm going to use this to paint in all of our metallic details. So what we've got is we've got the little bits of jewellery in his hair, like that, just there. We've got these kind of large screws. Never quite sure what they are. We're also going to paint in here, here, and on the gun as well. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Akhelian Green. I'm going to paint this over as a little target finder. Just there. Like that. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're just going to very quickly take a little bit of black Templar. And we're going to use this to blackline those metallic areas. So for example, just up here on this large bit here, we just want to run some black Templar going right down the middle of the detail, just like that. Same here. And same. This little detail just down here. So with that done, all of our base coats are now on Darkstrider. So all that's left to do is to add some highlights. We don't need to do any shading because we've done the black lining. And well, we are still going to be buffing those metallic bits up a bit, but they already look pretty awesome, so we don't need to whack a shade over them. So the first place we're going to start is on all of the armor, on our kind of ochre color. And the color we're going to be using first is T'au Light Ochre. We're just going to use this to pick out all of the edges around the model. Just like this. Now just take your time because some of these are very, very fiddly. Alternatively, you could just leave it here because your Darkstrider is now at a battle ready level. So entirely up to you. If you want to take him to the next stage, this is how we're going to do it. So with that T'au Light Ochre applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Ungor Flesh. I'm going to apply this as our little spot highlight. So what we want to do is we want to add this to the kind of sharpest areas as well as any areas that the light is going to hit. So for example, just along here, along this top section, just like that, because the light is going to beat down from on high. So with that done, all of the armor is now finished. So what we're going to do is going to move on. I'm going to start highlighting all of the dark brown details, so all of his bodysuit. And the color we're going to be using first for this is Steel Legion Drab. We just want to pick out all of the folds. His trousers. His shirt and his gloves. So that's Steel Legion Drab applied. What we then do is we take a little bit of Baneblade Brown and we're going to add this to the sharpest points. So for example, just there on the fold, at the tips of the gloves, just around here. Like that. Just like this. So with that done, his clothes are now all finished. So what we're going to do now is move on. And we're going to highlight the black, but we're also going to start working on the face because the color palette is reasonably similar. Now the color we're going to be using first is Russ Grey. And what we want to do with the Russ Grey is first and foremost on the face, so we just want to start re-layering over the top of all the raised areas. Just like this, just avoiding the recesses. Building up a nice strong blue tone. But as I said, we're also going to be highlighting all of the black. And well, all we want to do here is take this Russ Grey and then just start picking out all of the edges on all of the black details. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to add a little bit of extra shading into the face. And the colour we're going to make is roughly 6 parts contrast medium to 1 part Akhelian Green. We want this to be really, really thin. This is going to add that warmth into the face that you can see on the box art. So here we go. We're just going to add this all over the face. Just like that. Add it over the skin on the feet as well. Just whilst we're waiting for that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some black Templar. I'm going to paint this over the top of all the hooves. So with that done, it's now time to start layering up the face and apply a little bit of a spot highlight to all of that black. Now the colour we're going to make is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Russ Grey and Fenrisian Grey. And we want this to be quite a subtle build up. So we thinned it down with just a little bit more water than normal. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start painting this all over the raised details of the face. We're also going to be layering up the wide open areas of the skin. So for example, we're just picking out these edges around the eye. Like that. Then we're going to layer up the face. In the flat areas. And so with that done, we then take some Fenrisian Grey on its own. And we use this to hit those kind of sharpest points around the face. Like so. And what we also do with the Fenrisian Grey is use this on the corners of all of our black details. And then next up, as a final detail on the kind of skin areas, I want to take a little tiny bit of blue horror and just add this to the absolute pinnacle of some of these details. So for example, there around the nose and just there on the brow. Just like that, just to give it a couple of little extra light points. So with that done, what we're then going to do is going to take some black Templar. I'm going to apply this over his eye. Just like that. So with that done, the skin and the black are all now finished. The only bits we haven't finished off in terms of the black are the toenails, but we'll come back to those a little bit later. So what we're going to do next is we're going to work on all the white, and the colour we're going to be using is Corax White. Now what we want to do is we just want to relayer this now. We want this to a nice bright white on all of our armour panels, whereas on the bit of cloth on the back, we're just going to edge highlight with Corax White. And to create a little bit of contrast here, so it looks nice and effective, we're just going to relayer the top part of this white panel here, like that. Whereas on the side, what we're going to do is we're just going to pick out the edge. Like so. Whereas up here on the antenna, we are just going to relayer this Corax White to make it nice and bright, just avoiding where that Apothecary White has settled in the recesses. And so with that done, we're then going to take a tiny amount of white scar, and we're going to use this to highlight our white details. So with that done, our white details are now finished. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight the little drones, and the colour we're going to be using for this is Jokaero Orange. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Dawnstone. We're going to use this to highlight his hair. Like this, just picking out all of those strands. And we're also going to use this to highlight his toes. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Runelord Brass, and we're going to use this to colour in our little lenses. On the drones. Like that. As well as the bottom two buttons on his back. So with that Runelord Brass now applied, we then take some Blood Angels Red. I'm going to use this over the top of those little lenses. Just whilst we wait for that Blood Angels Red to dry, what we're going to do is take some Canoptek Alloy and add this as a little highlight to our metallic sections. Just like that, just to make them nice and shiny. So with that done, what we're then going to do is take a little bit of T'au Light Ochre and use this to add a little highlight towards the bottom right corner of each of those little gems and lenses, just like that. So with that T'au Light Ochre applied, we then take a teeny tiny dot of Corax White and we add this in the top left corner. Just like that. So with those red gems finished, all that's left to do is to finish the little targeting screen. So the colour we're going to use to highlight this is Baharroth Blue. Just like that. And then once again, we're going to take a tiny dot of Corax White. We're going to add this in this corner here. Here. And here. Just like that. So with that done, Darkstrider himself is now finished and he looks pretty awesome. All that's left to do is to work on his base, and well, the place we're going to start on is all that stonework. And the colour we're going to be using is Basilicanum Grey, and we just want to get this all over all of the stone. Nice and simple. Just like this. And with the Basilicanum Grey applied, what we're then going to do is just take a tiny amount of Fyreslayer Flesh. I'm just going to add this, some little bits of weathering, just to make those bullet holes seem a little bit more bullet holey. Just like that. Can also add a little bit of this in and around kind of destroyed sections up here. And so with that done, we're then going to take some Cygor Brown. I'm going to use this to paint in all the soil. So with that Cygor Brown applied, what we then do is take a little bit of Iron Warriors and apply that to these little bits of rebar sticking out of the stonework. And then next up, we take some Runelord Brass. We use this to paint in all of our bullet casings. Got one just there, one here, and a couple on the back. So with that done, just to create a little bit of variation in the base, what we're going to do is going to take some black Templar. I'm going to use this on the tiles on the floor. And then next up, we use a little bit of Basilicanum Grey just to shade all of our metallics. And so with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to finish off all that negative space, or rather colour over it, and the colour I'm using is Stirland Battlemire, because I want it to blend with the soil. But of course, if you're doing yours in a different scheme, you'll have done that soil a different colour. anyway. So with that now all done, all that's left to do is to give that entire base a dry brush of Tyrant Skull. This is just going to act as our highlight across all of our soil, all of our stonework, and also just to pick up those metallics as well, make them look nice and dusty and dirty, and blend them in to the battlefield. Just like this. And so, with some tufts added and the rim of the base painted black, Darkstrider is now finished. And he looks absolutely fantastic. Very, very pleased with how he has come out. He is an inspiration for me. Doing the T'au Sept scheme has been one of those things that I've always wanted to do because I absolutely love it. It's a real nostalgia bend for me. So I'm just very, very happy to be able to recreate it with the contrast paints. And I hope this video helps you when painting your T'au Sept armies and your Darkstriders, of course. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.